Three, two.
Welcome back to Between the Scene podcast. My name is Peter, and I am joined by my buddy Luke.
Hi guys, I'm Luke again. Today we're going to be talking about my personal favorite movie as of right now, the movie Hot Fuzz, directed by Edgar Wright. Came out in 2007, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It is, if any of you guys don't know, the second installment of what's come to be known as the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy. It's an action buddy cop comedy, and I'm really excited about this one. So whenever you're ready, Peter, let's go ahead.
Before we get started, as usual, if you haven't already, like the video or the audio, download the audio if you're on Spotify, Google Podcast, etc. Wherever you're listening to us. And then subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're up to date on all our future episodes. And of course, please comment on what you want us to do next. That would be greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, Luke, give me your first thoughts.
Alright, so, yes, Hot Fuzz. This is one of the funniest and just all-around most rewatchable movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've seen it countless times in the 6 years since I first watched it. 2016, the first time I saw it. And back then, I did love it right away. I really did. At first, towards the end, by the way, spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen it, of course.
Yep.
So towards the very end, since you have seen it twice now, the shootout scene towards the very end, that one was a little jarring for me. But other than that, on subsequent rewatches, it hasn't been a problem for me at all whatsoever. I've come to appreciate Edgar Wright's editing style and everything else that he does so much that it's really a non-issue for me right now. So there's just so much to love and unpackage in this movie that I don't even know where to start, honestly. But
Right.
Is there anything specific you'd like me to highlight, or anything I can go into a lot of detail for you on?
Well, I personally love the editing. The editing to me is what makes the film, like, besides Simon's acting and his facial expressions. The editing of this movie is just so fast paced, and it will keep you interested in it. Like when I watched most movies at home, sometimes I would like pick up my phone during the slow scenes and check Facebook for a second and then get back into it. But this movie, I was just glued to the screen the whole time. It was hilarious. The first time I watched it was 2 nights ago or last night, yeah.
Yep.
I was laughing out loud. Right now I'm still living with my parents because I moved back to help my mom during her having her back surgery. So I'm still with them. So when I was watching the movie last night, I had to control my laughter because I didn't want to wake them up. Like I was dying watching this movie. And it being a movie made in 2007, it holds up to this day. Like it is so good. But yeah. As for I guess just give me the story rundown.
So it starts off with introducing us to Sergeant Nicholas Angel. He starts off in the opening scene anyway as a police constable.
Yep.
And they run you through his biggest accomplishments as a police officer, how he worked his way up from when he first started in his police education all the way up to where he is in the present day when the movie takes place.
Yep.
And then it first shows you his colleagues, his other police officers, and his superiors commending him for those at first. And then because of that, they want to transition him from where he's stationed in London, to a rural area in
Sanford.
Yes, Sanford. The town of Sanford, technically a village.
Yep.
Sanford, Gloucestershire. The way Martin Freeman pronounces it.
Yep.
I think is kind of funny, but Gloucestershire, I think is how we would probably pronounce it. But anyway, so he's an amazing police officer, really high achieving, really top of his game, top of his class, top of everything. But the reason they want to move him out of London and away from them is because he's just so good. He's been making them look bad by comparison.
Yeah.
So basically, the gist of the story is he's moved out to this little town where the crime rate is really, really low, but and it's a consistent Village of the Year winner. Everyone is all obsessed with keeping that image sustained and making sure everything looks good on the surface.
Yep.
And what follows is a series of seemingly accidental deaths that turn out to be a lot more sinister than anybody realizes, except for Nicholas Angel, who investigates further into each one until he realizes that it's really a big conspiracy behind the facade that the town wants to project to the outside world.
Right.
So what he finds out is it's really because they just want to be able to keep their image of being the perfect little village intact, and they get rid of or murder or just outright get rid of anyone that they can to keep that image the way it is. So he learns a lot on his through this story, but he also teaches a lot to his friend Nick Frost, who plays the character Danny Butterman, another police constable. So yeah, it's just there's just so much going on in it that it is first and foremost a buddy cop action comedy, but it's so much more than that too.
Yeah. It it's so funny. It's a good movie. Again, if you haven't seen it, I guess we already just spoiled it, but go watch it. It's a really good movie. Simon Pegg is hilarious. He if you don't know who he is, he's the guy who did Shaun of the Dead. He also was in Star Trek a couple times, I think.
Yep. I haven't seen those movies yet of his, but I do know he's in the newer ones. Anyway.
Yeah. So going into his character, you got someone who is just obsessed with work. His relationship goes downhill. Actually, it ended before the movie really begins. He just got out of a relationship because, guys, as you know, if you don't make time for your girl, they will leave you. That's what happens to Simon, Nicholas, and so he gets, he just focuses on his job. He does so well in London that pretty much is like no one else to lock up at that point. So they send him to country land where nothing really happens, and he begins to, like, as he starts in that area, he's still going overkill and arresting anyone and anyone that is breaking the law, while people in that town are so laid back. They don't care if there's underage patrons at a bar. They don't care if people are spray painting, but they do care about a guy who's dressed up in all gold and pretending to be a statue. It's all over the place. So they got everything backwards, really.
Yep.
And then over the course of the movie, Nicholas goes from being so on top of his work to starting to relax, thanks to Nick Frost. What's his name?
Yep.
Nick Frost.
Danny Butterman.
Danny
Yep,
Butterman. Yep. And so you got those two characters that are like polar opposites almost, and I think that does good for the character development. What is what's your favorite scene of the movie?
My favorite scene. So, if I had to really, I was thinking about it actually as I was just watching it. Just now. And okay, so one of my absolute favorites. I don't know if you've seen, so I'm assuming you have seen Shaun of the Dead. I think I may have asked you a long time ago, but yes. Okay, so I love how if you haven't seen the third movie in this trilogy, The World's End, yet, which you absolutely should, and anyone else who's watching this should. But if you haven't seen that one either, one of the running gags throughout all three of these movies is the fence scene in each one. I don't know if you remember the one from Shaun of the Dead, but the one in this one is my absolute favorite out of the three. So that's easily one of my absolute favorite scenes in the whole movie for sure. And then aside from that, I don't know. There's just so much from the entire third act, like the whole closing scene,
Yeah.
where it's the entire town against the police force, basically.
Yep.
It's hard to choose between them, but yeah, it's definitely those are two big highlights from the movie for me for sure.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you think is your favorite?
It's hard to choose from that movie, man. I'd say probably the part where they're invading the grocery store in the third
Oh,
act.
yep. Uh-huh.
Especially the part where you have the deli workers throwing all the knives that they have, and then they're like shooting at the glass and it doesn't
Oh,
break, and then they just reel carts into it and it shatters all over the
yep.
place.
Yep.
I like that, and then I also like um going out of the third act. Um I like the scene where he walks into the new place that he's living into, the castle suite.
Uh-huh.
And then you see him put his coat up, and then you see this really nice shot through the window of him just staring out.
Yep.
He's just like so bored. He's like, this is so
Mhm.
different. I'm not used to this. And it goes back to him picking up the coat, and he goes to the pub, and that's when you get introduced to Nick or Danny, and
Yep.
the whole part where Danny's just so intoxicated. He's like, you're not gonna drive that car, right? And he walks away, and then he sneaks back into his car, almost hits Nicholas, and then Nicholas arrests him and puts him in prison. And the best part is when he goes back the next day. He's like, open cell 4, and he's like, he's not here. And then Danny peeks around Nicholas, and he's like, who's not here? He's like, why are you dressed up as a police officer?
Because I am one.
It's so funny,
Yes.
dude.
I love it.
This movie will make you laugh. Like, it is so funny. And the story is good too. With any comedy, the story is like secondhand to the actual comedy part. Like, watching comedies, you're pretty much there for the jokes, but
Right.
the story does a good job too, and makes a lot of sense. Well,
Oh yeah.
probably wouldn't happen in a real situation, but it's very entertaining.
hmm
So going into the story, do you think the third act was overplayed at all, or do you think that it was perfectly set up for the movie?
I think it was pretty well set up because I think one thing that was pointed out to me, if you think about it,
Uh-huh.
I really didn't think that much of this part of the movie itself, but you noticed how, like, when Nicholas he is first interrogating Simon Skinner,
Yeah.
Timothy Dalton's character,
Yeah.
he is laying out the entire series of clues and conclusions he's reached based on all the information he's gathered, and
Uh-huh.
how it for him it seemed like it was this really long, really intricate conspiracy involving land ownership and his market store,
Yeah.
and how he wanted to get them, like, have it all to himself and all these other different things, when it was really just all along it was just for petty, selfish and childish reasons.
Right.
And they just wanted to keep the village's image all perfect and looking the way they wanted it to. So I think everything really paid off really well, because that's something that Edgar Wright does really, really well with his movies. Is he does, like, this one especially. There's a lot that, like, everything that you see happen early on. There's a lot of really great foreshadowing, a lot of
Yes.
build-ups, and really good payoffs towards the
Yeah.
very end.
Yeah.
A lot of seemingly throwaway lines of dialogue that come back into play in some
Right.
way or another. I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, I think the third act really justifies its the way it plays out, because there's so many little things that I catch every single time I watch this movie. It's one of
Yeah.
my favorites to do that with.
This movie is, I would say, the king of plant and payoffs. This
Yes.
every single every single line of dialogue, or every single scenario that happens, comes back later. So, for example, my favorite one is they're watching either Die Hard, Bad Boys 2, or
Point Break.
Point Break. So he's
Yep.
he's like, so he points the gun at him, and he loves him so much he can't shoot him, so he points the gun in the air and shoots
Goes,
it.
ah!
And what happens in the story is Danny's dad is a corrupt police officer, and he's on the run at the end. And Danny's like, he points his gun at him, and he's like, he's my dad, so I can't shoot him. He's like so in love with him, and he points his gun in the air and shoots and screams, and it's just like, these are like planned payoffs.
Yep.
Another one is the scene where Nicholas goes into the I guess I don't know the proper term they use, but the building where he was supposed to stay. And the lady behind the counter was like, welcome to town, fascist. And then she's looking at a crossword puzzle. She's like, 7 down, 12 to the, or 12 to the right, or something like that.
I think 7 across.
7 across, yeah.
Yep.
And then he's like, she's like, do you need help with your bags? He's like, no, I think I got it, hag. And she's like, pardon me. And he's like 3 across and stuff like that. And then it comes back later in the film after he shoots her. He's like, he says something. He's like, hag, and
she calls him a fascist.
Yeah.
After he shoots down the pottery plant or whatever
Right.
it was down on her head, he calls her a hag.
Yes. Like every single line in this movie doesn't like just, it's not there for that moment. It is there for the movie because they come back to it. What's another good plan and payoff?
I got one for you.
Yeah.
So that scene where he, on his first day, he goes to lunch with all the other officers. So the 2 Andys, they're telling him how one of them says something about how there are more guns in the country than there are in the city.
Yeah.
And he says, and then Nicholas asks him like who, and one of them says he's like, farmers, or no wait, at first he says everybody and their mums is packing around here, and he's like who? He says farmers. Who else? Farmers' moms. And then later on, you see that one guy, I forget his last name, but he's one of the older guys and a farmer.
The one who can't talk.
No, it's like he's an actual farmer. He's a part of the NWA, and he is out there when Nicholas is coming back into town after they think he's dead.
Yeah.
So it's the first people he sees in the morning.
Yep.
The following day, and he's there with his mom, and she has a shotgun, like a double barrel with her, and he runs up to, I think Nicholas subdues the farmer first. I forget how, but then he runs right up to his mom as she's reloading the shotgun, and right before she's able to get another shot off, he drop kicks her in the face.
And also like the whole like when the Andrews are like farmers, when they go to that farmer's house, the one who's trimming hedges that don't belong to him, he's got a whole arsenal. Like he's
like, how did he even get that?
Right.
You know,
like,
that's one thing. Yeah. Like, how do you even come across that?
One of my favorite lines when Sergeant Nicholas is bringing in all the people that he I guess arrested that night, the first night when he arrives.
All the underage drinkers.
All the underage drinkers, and then the Danny. He walks into the police station and he's like, "Oh, you must be Sergeant Angel. When did you start?" He's like, "Tomorrow."
That is one of the better ones. Yeah. That is a funny line.
Go for it.
Yeah, there was another one. Did you notice the Aaron A. Aronson joke? Did you notice when that came back?
Towards the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
You did notice that?
Yeah.
Really?
I
can't remember if I did the first time I saw it, but it's been so long now that because you know who it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and you remember how the Andes mentioned his name
Yep.
towards the beginning. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that one was a good one. What else is there? There's a scene where here's a good one. So, in the very beginning, when Nicholas is still in London and he's talking with all of his superiors,
Uh-huh.
so which like the chief inspector for London, he's played by Bill Nighy. You know him?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's Nicholas says to him, "With respect, sir, you can't just make people disappear," because he wants to get rid of them. He wants to move them out of London, and he says, "Yes, I can. I'm the chief inspector," and then. He comes to Sanford, and Frank, Danny's father, is also the chief inspector.
Yep.
And that's exactly what his whole scheme is getting rid of people and making them disappear.
Right.
I thought that was a clever one.
I love how Martin Freeman's in this movie too. Even though he's, I just love him so much. He's such a cool guy. Martin Freeman's the guy who played the Hobbit.
Yep. Bilbo.
Yeah, Bilbo. But yeah, and he's in a lot of comedies too, isn't he?
He is. Yep.
Yeah.
I know. I wasn't really into it or anything like that, but I know he's in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He's been in. I mean, I know he's really well known for Sherlock. I don't know how many people would consider that a comedy or not.
Right.
And the Hobbit movies, of course, and then the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm sure you've seen him in those.
Yep.
I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but yeah, he has been quite a bit. So
yeah,
and he's got a great sense of humor too. So
yeah. What do you think of the title, Hot Fuzz?
So I really like how, because I don't know if, how you were able to watch it or not, or if it was on disc or anything.
No, it was Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. So anyway, on the disc, I actually own more than a couple, or actually a few different copies of this, but because I love it so much.
Yeah.
So I think I was watching something on there how they mentioned, the really short, really punchy 2-word title for a buddy cop action movie. So if you think about it, it was very deliberate in the same vein as like Die Hard, Point Break, Lethal Weapon. Movies like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, it really fits the movie, and because I mean, you know how the term fuzz is used as a way of referring to the police force, right?
Yeah.
Police officers. Okay.
Yeah.
The police service.
I like the movie, the title, because it stands out. It's something like I won't forget the movie title for this movie when I'm 80 years old and can't remember things. I saw this movie last night, and it'll be a movie I can watch every year now, because it is a funny movie, and I love Simon Pegg.
I do too.
He's hilarious. His facial reactions, like especially during the scene.
Juliet.
Yes,
Yep.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yes, I knew it.
He's like, I can't do it. I can't do justice for it. He's got the perfect face for it.
He's just so appalled and just struck.
Yeah.
Just how goofy it is.
My favorite part of him during this movie, during the third act, is him riding on the horse. He's got the double shotgun
on his back.
Yeah, he's got a whole arsenal on his body, and this movie just takes a huge turn after he finds out that the killer is multiple people. I was actually really convinced during the scene when Danny comes and stabs him, dude. I was like, my heart was broken, dude. I was like, these guys are bros. Yep. And then the whole plant and payoff thing comes back where he has the ketchup. Yep. Like,
in the eye.
Yeah, like he just played the whole ketchup prank again.
Yep. Ta-da. That was a great moment.
But yeah, I was totally convinced he definitely stabbed him. But what's one thing you would change about this movie?
I was thinking about that too, as I was watching it this morning also, or earlier, just now. I don't know if there's anything I would really change, but it's really hard because this movie just feels so perfect to me. Like everything wraps up just exactly the way I'd want it to.
Yeah.
It's a great. It sends you off on a great note. Um, I feel like there was one thing that didn't add up quite right for me, but I just can't remember what it was or who it had anything to do with. Is there anything you would change? Like, just out of curiosity, it might jog my memory.
Um, not really because I, well, it, um, Simon Pegg and Edgar,
Mm-hmm.
they were given, like, from the production companies, they were given total free reign to
Yeah.
do whatever because of Shaun of the Dead, its huge
Oh yeah.
success.
Oh yeah.
So maybe if I were to change anything, it would probably it'd probably be the way that uh Danny's dad gets taken in,
uh,
as well as Skinner, or what's his name?
yep. Simon Skinner.
Simon Skinner, yeah.
Yeah.
Um I would change the way he, how he falls on the little town
Yep.
remake. And
The steeple. Yeah.
yeah, I wish it had more of a satisfying end, I guess. I mean, I guess for Danny's dad, it would be a little sad to see him get shot because he's Danny's dad.
Mm-hmm.
But as for Simon, you really don't care about him at all. I kind of wish he died in a gruesome, not a, in a, it sounds morbid, but like I wish he died in a more satisfying way.
Right.
Um,
Can I add to that? Or
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
there still
yeah.
more you had?
No, no,
Okay.
no, go for it.
Okay. So what I was going to say was actually that's one thing that I've also had pointed out to me is how every single person that was behind everything. Okay, so during the shootout scene, at least,
Uh-huh.
everyone who's involved with the NWA and all the murders and all
Yeah.
that, they make it a point that he never actually killed any single one of them.
Right,
Since
right.
that's basically a police officer's job, right, to do
Yeah.
everything as peacefully as possible and
Yep.
detain everything. So, other than the one guy, the one who works on the TV or the security cameras, the monitors.
Yeah.
You remember, yeah, how he
Yeah.
comes into the office with the blunderbuss and
Yeah.
the C mine goes off.
Yeah.
So, because everyone, I mean, they show you like almost like everyone else surviving it, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like except for him, even though they don't show you a body or like his remains or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, presumably he probably did die because of it, but it still wasn't actually Nicholas's fault. He just
Uh-huh.
kicked him into it, and it went off on its own.
Yeah.
So he's still basically like the top of everything, the top of his game, just the top police
Right.
officer in town.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it probably could have been a little more satisfying, but I like how, because I've heard how, let's see, yeah, him getting impaled through the chin with that steeple from the model of the village. So I mean, I feel like it is kind of fitting for him, even though it didn't actually kill him, because he was responsible. I mean, especially for Tim Messenger's death.
Yeah.
The journalist, him
Yeah.
getting
With
crushed
the
to death.
with the yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
the piece of the church.
Yeah.
That, by the way, when I first saw this movie, that one scene of Tim, like I know that it is morbid too, but
Yeah.
just the way he was filmed being killed like that, I was just busting a gut laughing at that scene.
Yeah.
It was just so ridiculous.
Super over the top. Super
Mhm.
over the top.
Yeah.
Before you found out that it was multiple people
Mhm.
in the NWA, did you think that it was just Skinner?
So with these kind of movies where it's kind of a whodunit mystery, I
Uh-huh.
really don't try and try and guess who it is. I mean,
Uh-huh.
because I think just because of the way it was set up with how sinister and how like direct he was early on about kind of foreshadowing each and every
Yeah.
person's death and how aware of what was going on he
Yeah.
was. They were like I could tell the movie was going out of its way to make him look like a red herring.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pulls it out from underneath you, the rug,
Yeah.
that he was still behind it in some way all along,
Uh-huh.
which I really admired because I love Scream, and I think Edgar Wright took a lot of inspiration from the original of that
Right.
movie. Yeah,
Right.
some of the ideas that Wes Craven used.
Yeah.
I think, but this one, like with the story that he was telling with this movie, I think it still works in the movie's favor because he's just such an oily character,
Yeah.
and I think like it just his villainy and his motive. I think it just works perfectly for me.
Right.
I wasn't surprised that it played out the way it was. So yeah, I knew he was going to have something to do with it by the end
Yeah.
of it, even though
Yeah.
they kind of clear him at first, but then yeah, they
Yeah.
still find out the truth eventually.
Yeah. 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 Would you have any cast member changes, or do you think
Um,
everyone fit the role?
I think everyone fit the role perfectly. I love knowing like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost together are always going to be perfect.
Right.
They're best friends in real life, and you can see it in their work
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone else, Jim Broadbent as Danny's father, Frank, and then Timothy Dalton as Simon Skinner. Yeah, he was fantastic. Did you notice any cameos, or did you recognize anybody that you might
Uh-uh.
not have? Okay,
No.
so just to give you a few, Nicholas's girlfriend at the beginning, the one that breaks up with him,
Uh-huh.
that was Kate Blanchett, if you know her.
Yeah. No. So who was Kate
Uh,
as?
she was Simon's or sorry, Nicholas Angel's girlfriend,
I couldn't
Janine,
recognize her from the where she
because of
was
her
fully. Yeah.
right because of what she was wearing. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just wondered if maybe her eyes or her voice maybe you might have recognized, but
No.
yeah, that was her. And then um, if when they're showing you that whole montage of everything that Nicholas has achieved and some of the things he's experienced, and they show you
Uh-huh.
him when he gets stabbed through the hand by a guy dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah.
The guy dressed as Santa Claus in that scene was Peter Jackson.
Really?
Uh huh.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah, it was.
awesome.
It was great. I love knowing things like that. I just love it.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Did what's his name? Jim Broadbent?
Yep. Uh huh.
Was he the guy who played in Harry Potter
Yep.
as
Slughorn.
the potion Slughorn, yeah.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah,
Yep. That
yeah,
was
yeah.
him. That is him.
I could tell just by the way he talked.
Oh yeah.
Like he sounded exactly the same way he would talk in Harry Potter.
Yep.
Um that's great. That's
Yep.
great.
And then you noticed the guy with his speech the farmer who was cutting the hedges. You noticed
uh
him too.
who was he?
He was the one who played Filch in Harry Potter.
Ah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. That
Okay.
was him.
Great. Great.
Yep.
Where was Hot Fuzz shot at?
It was. I'm pretty sure it was filmed. It was. I think it was in an area similar to where it was supposed to take place. I think
Uh-huh.
the village of Sanford. I think that was fictional,
Yeah.
but I think they actually. You know what? I think they filmed some of it in Edgar Wright's hometown or something
Okay.
like that. I know he has filmed somewhere. He's made one of his movies in in his hometown, but or some of one of them, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure which. But yeah, I could pull that up. Hold on, just a second.
Yeah.
Let's
Cuz
see.
it looked like Ireland or somewhere.
Oh yeah, definitely somewhere out in the country, somewhere
Yeah.
really out there.
Right.
Let's see. Some of them were in Somerset. Wales. Yeah, Somerset, England. Um, let's see. Bishop's Palace, also in Somerset. Welwyn Garden City in Hertfordshire. Um, yeah, Sanford itself was in Wells, Somerset, England.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
hmm
Gotcha. So talk to me about Edgar Wright. What else has he done?
So yeah, he's definitely known best for Shaun of the Dead.
Yep.
Hot Fuzz, of course. The World's End, and then he's also the one who directed Scott Pilgrim versus the World. If you're a fan of
Yep.
that
Yep.
one, okay.
Yep.
And then he also did Baby Driver. Did
Oh,
you also
did
see
he?
that? Yep, he was the one who directed that.
Awesome.
And then his most recent movie was Last Night in Soho, which just came out last year.
Oh, really?
Uh huh. That was
That's
him.
that's like the horror one, right?
Yep. It also takes place in England. The girl, she starts having dreams and visions of another girl back in the '60s,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, the trouble that she faced and everything that happened to her. Yeah, that was
Wow,
Edgar Wright.
I didn't know Edgar would do that. That's
Oh yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool, 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 cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Um, so did you find the ending of this movie to be sufficient for a story like this, or do you
Oh yeah.
think? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. I
Yeah,
was really, really
this
satisfied with it.
I think because of the ending and like everything being put together, like especially with the plants and payoffs, this movie is so rewatchable. Like
Mm-hmm.
even like I watched it for the first time last night, and I rewatched it today, and I was still laughing, dude. Like it's hilarious, dude. I can't.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that'll be it for this episode. Thank you, Luke, for being on the
Yep.
show. Uh,
Absolutely.
you guys will see Luke a lot more often because he's become probably one of my favorite people to have on my show.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, again, if you haven't already, leave a like. Download the audio if you can. You should because it is your moral responsibility. And then um subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're up to date on all our future episodes. Leave a comment of what you want us to do next. I cannot stress that enough because it really gives us more ideas of what you guys want to see us talk about or listen to us talk about. And then if you want to be on the show, just shoot me a message on Instagram at Sardo Studios Photography or Between the Scenes Podcast. Text me if you have my number. Message me on Facebook, and or comment below, and we can figure something out. We are also gonna change our name from Between the Scenes to something else, just because there's a lot of other Between the Scenes segments on TV and other YouTube channels and podcasts. So it was my fault of doing that. I should have really looked into placing a good name from the get go, but once we get our new name started and running, we'll stick with it and go from there. Um, Thank you again, Luke. I appreciate your
Mm-hmm.
time and sacrificing your Sunday afternoon to talk to me. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
All right, signing off.
Sweet. See you guys.